All right, cancel it. No, I'm kidding. No. All right. So this is Radical Rascals.
We are radical rascals. Each of us is a radical, and each of us is a rascal.
Dude, the jitters are so real. No, I mean, we got to leave all this in. So, my name is Nick.
I'm Sean.
And the idea is that we just wanted to do a podcast, and I guess this is what we're doing. Just super informal. Both of us are really jittery because we've never done something like this before. It's a little awkward, but I mean, the idea is for us to try to explain our political views on certain topics and to probably argue along the way.
Probably.
And yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I guess for me this is kind of like a, like a journal, political, philosophical, journal with my radical rascal partner here. And just to eventually see whether our opinions change or, in the future. And
I mean, you say whether they change, but honestly, I hope that they change.
Yeah,
if we have the same opinions like 5 years from now, we failed.
Right.
If we peak in our mid-20s, it's like, that's it. That's our intellectual development.
Yep, that's it.
It's just a wrap.
But yeah, so we kind of did this, to have as some sort of put it in the archives, in the Sean and Nick archives, because we have these phone calls that Nick can go on about, the Tuesday phone calls.
Yeah. Sean missed last Tuesday. He wanted me to remind him in the middle of this. He very specifically asked me to remind him.
So yeah, we're kind of just taking those phone calls where we just talk about stuff, debate, teach each other, learn from each other, discuss things, whatever. And put it in the form of a podcast so that it's there, it exists, and we can listen to it, years from now. And our friends or whoever wants to take the time to listen to this can listen to it. We'll upload it on YouTube or something. But the goal is not necessarily to spread it and, create a brand off of it. It's just, thoughts and discussion.
Well, for the record, it would be really awkward if we spread it and made a brand out of it. this is the first thing we're saying is, yeah, we don't want to do all that. But shit happens. We'll do it anyway.
So how should we start this?
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess just you, because it's probably easier for you to start explaining your political ideologies and your beliefs because they're a lot more set in stone than mine. Mine are fairly new. So you explain yours, and then I can kind of piggyback off of that.
I mean, it's tough to say exactly what I am. Obviously, I believe in the, immortal science of Marxism-Leninism.
How are you laughing at that? Or is your belief? Nah, just kidding, guys. I'm actually an ultra wealthy capitalist.
No, I'm a communist, obviously. But I don't think it's necessary to get sort of bogged down into details of whether I'm, Marxist-Leninist or a Maoist or a
Luxemburgist.
yeah, Trotskyist, stuff like that. I'm a communist. I align with other communists. I even align with other anti-capitalists. So that's kind of the goal here is, talk about anti-capitalism, communism. But yeah, that's pretty much my political ideologies.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that part, though. I think a lot of people get bogged down by, I guess I would call them, micro-labels. I told you about how I was watching that YouTube video the other day where a dude was speed running, explaining political ideologies. It was 30 minutes, and he explained, 50 ideologies, and some of them are so, they're so niche, and they're, so, branched out of multiple ideologies that come into one. I think one was like gay fascism, where it's like, you know how like the core belief of fascism is like an ethno state.
Yeah.
It's like that, but like around homosexuality, or I guess LGBT in general. So like, yeah, it's just like, it's just niche, you know. It's just like really really specific beliefs that people have, and I mean ultimately I think it comes down to as long as people become anti-capitalist, then fuck it, that's a step in the right direction. So going into me and my beliefs, I don't know. I've been kind of, I mean, I've always been an anarchist. Well, I can't say always. What it was is, whenever I worked at UPS, I remember I was loading a truck one day and there was this dude there, and he started telling me about anarchy, and it just, my eyes brightened up. I was like, oh, this is a thing, and that's really what started it. But I never got fully into it past that base level of anarchy, wherever it's just like no government and individual freedom for a while. So I was more like a libertarian anarchist then, you know. Yeah, it's just like a lazy anarchist. Then, you know, as you know, over the past, I want to say month or two, I've been looking a lot more into it and reading a lot more, listening to a lot more, thinking a lot more, and kind of developing the views and understanding that level of anarchy is just, it's just childish, to be honest. Like, you can't just do away with everything and expect there to be like no negative repercussions. And to do away with everything, know that there's gonna be negative repercussions, but be okay with it, defeats the whole purpose of destroying an evil system. It's like the system's evil because it fucks people over. I'm gonna destroy the system in a way that fucks people over. It's like, okay, so you're really, no matter what your belief is like, you're not much better. So I've been kind of struggling with it. I know I'm an anarchist for sure. I don't know what kind. Maybe an anarcho-communist. Maybe anarcho-syndicalist. Actually, probably not. Anprim. That's what I am. That's what I'm going with. Anarcho-primitivism, baby. We need to go back to the Stone Age. We need to eat some twigs and berries.
Yeah, you remind me of what you said reminded me of, you know, this one guy I saw who had the anarchist tattoo on him. Yeah. The red A with the surrounded by a circle, and you know, he was like, yeah, you know, I was like, oh, you're an anarchist? He's like, hell yeah. I was like, oh, why? He's like, you know, I'm all about disorder and chaos. And I was like, what? Like, you have that tatted on your skin. You know, it's funny, like, the O surrounding the A is supposed to symbolize order. Like, anarchy is not disorder. Anarchy is actually order.
It believes in true order without a hierarchy and questioning any form of authority.
Exactly.
And only allowing legitimate forms of authority, which is why there's different types of anarchy, because different people legitimize different forms of hierarchies.
Right. But the symbol of anarchy, that you know, well-known red A with the circle around it, has sort of been commodified and turned into like just a symbol of just rebellion, you know, like anarchy, yeah. I don't know what it is, but you know, destruction, chaos, yeah, fight against bad people. That's kind of what it's been turned into. But
no, absolutely. I mean, especially with like, I think it's kind of in that binary sense of thinking, where it's like a false dichotomy that gets created, where anarchy is no government. Government equals order. Therefore, no government equals no order. Right. Therefore, anarchy is opposite of order, which is chaos. And it's like, it's just such an oversimplified, like, reductionist way of looking at a whole political ideology that's been flushed out over the past, 200, 300 years now? Like,
we see it on CNN and on all the news stations that were just recently with the insurrectionists on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, calling them anarchists.
Fascists. They're actually fascists, right? They're fascist sympathizers.
They're very specifically.
But, you know, you have the entire mainstream media referring to them as anarchists, which is just, it's absurd.
They're trying to destroy government, therefore they're anarchists.
Right.
Yeah, dude. It's so funny. I mean, I told you, My girlfriend even said, like, this is what you wanted, right? I was like, hell no, this isn't what I want. I was like, what the fuck is this gonna accomplish? Like, I was like, listen, this isn't even realistic or ideal. I mean, I love the movie V for Vendetta, but like, I don't, I mean, like, I would want it to come to that if we lived in, like, a dystopian future. If we lived in, like, Orwell's 1984, if we lived in, Oceania, yeah, I would want to see that shit. I would want to see everything burned to the fucking ground, but we still live in at the very least on a surface level, like a civilized society. You know, I mean, at least for everyday citizens, I'd like for it to be like worked out in such a manner. I mean, to go through it with as little destruction and bloodshed as possible would absolutely be a win for literally anybody, like even the enemies, which I'm okay with. Because, I mean, I always say it's supposed to be out of love for your people, not, like, hate for the enemy. And it's, like, it's just so stupid. I think you're right, man. It's so funny hearing people talk about it. I think the funniest is, like, I've been talking about it so much lately, that or I guess, I can't say all the people because I don't know all the people who were at the Capitol building. Capitol Hill?
Yeah, Capitol Hill, yeah.
Capitol building. I don't know all the people there, but I know that a majority of people who support Trump, or who were there at the very least, are conservative, and definitely extremely right-wing. You know, and a big part of, like, conservative ideology is just this... It's like... It's all of these, like, false representations of other ideologies that exist. I mean... Anarchy being one of them. So what happened there was not anarchy. It was just like a childish fucking
tantrum.
A tantrum. Yeah, there we go. It was just a tantrum because it accomplished nothing. It was disorganized. It was literally people just on social media taking a picture on the podium and shit, getting arrested later and being like, "What the fuck? They're taking my freedom." It's like, dude, you stormed the Capitol building with your face on a camera. What did you think would happen? Like, but the funny part to me is that conservatives, generally speaking, believe that anarchy is this chaos, disorder, destruction, right? Which it's not. But then they go and they act in a very chaotic, destructive manner. And so I find it funny, not that they were acting like anarchists, but even worse, they were acting like what they thought anarchists were, which means it's just like, it's just so stupid, dude. It's so stupid. And it just represents, at least to me, whenever I see it, such a lack of the ability to just, like, step back and critically analyze your surroundings and your current situation and just, like, come to a reasonable conclusion. Instead, just say, nah, these fucking liberal lefties are trying to take my guns and trying to take my president.
Yeah. Nah, they're dumb. Very dumb. Very dumb people. I don't know how else to put it.
I mean, because I feel like a lot of the more successful ones, like, I can see how they're still stuck in their ideology. I mean, the idea is that it's like they create their opinions before being given the evidence, and then look for evidence to back up their opinions. So, I mean, isn't that a form of confirmation bias? Like, looking for evidence to support your pre-existing opinions? Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what it is a lot of the time. It's just people like, I have this opinion, let me go find something to back it up. Instead of saying, oh, let me look at all the evidence and then form my opinion. You know, let me look at, you know, all the events that have happened and then say, hey, you know, these events are kind of fucked up, or hey, I see how it's justified. But I mean, it's so dumb, and it's like a lot of them wait for these like these like rhetoric dog whistles, I guess. I don't know. It's like they wait for other bigger conservatives to form opinions so that it could like trickle down to them. You know. It's just so ridiculous.
Trickle-down ideology.
Yes, it's a trickle-down ideology. It's really it in a nutshell, man. That's why I'm telling you, I want to make this video. It's going to be good. So what it is I guess I could talk about it, right? It doesn't matter. I want to make a video that outlines. I mean, and in as respectful a way as possible, so as to not like turn conservatives away. But I want to make a video outlining and detailing the hypocrisy and contradictions that are inherent in conservative ideology. I mean, there's just so many that exist, and I hate that I say that right now because I don't have a list present. So I feel like it's one of those where it's like, dude, there's so many examples. I promise. And someone's like, well, what are they? I'm like, dude, there's just I can't even pick one. I can't even decide because there's that many.
No, you'll tear that up when we get to that. But so for now, I guess the topic that we can talk about today, 15 minutes into the podcast.
Are you saying that like damn, we still have 45 minutes? Or are you saying that like holy shit, 15 has already passed?
15 has already passed, and that was just us talking about our ideologies. So I guess one thing that I forgot to mention was that, you know, other than for us, for me and Nick, this podcast is also for, you know, the friends that we will send, you know, the link to, so they can listen to it in the car or something.
You know who you guys are.
Yeah, I know who you are, but
and ladies,
you know
who you are.
If you have the time, obviously.
If they made it 16 minutes in, they have the time.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, if you're taking a long trip to, like, I don't know, like, North Florida or something.
Yup, just going up to the Panhandle.
Or somewhere, I don't know, you know, you can listen to this, but 17 minutes has already passed, so we should get started on, you know, the topic. So, I guess we can talk about, you know, capitalism and why it's a destructive force to humanity, instead of just saying why it's bad. But
way to frame that. I just want to frame it in a very unbiased way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, instead of, you know, like how we mentioned, it's kind of futile to get bogged down in the different ideologies, like what is Marxism, Leninism, and Maoism, right, and, you know, anarchism and anarcho-syndicalism. Like, let's just talk about anti-capitalism for right now, and why capitalism, which is the system that exists today, which is the overarching economic force that dominates, you know, how many billion people? Like 7 billion people on the planet.
I think it's more now. I don't know. I would venture to say 8. Yeah. Maybe 8.5. Yeah. If all of you 8.5 billion people are listening, sorry if we missed you.
So we can talk about that and why, you know, how we became anti-capitalists. Maybe what is capitalism briefly. Yeah. And I
think touching on that, and then touching on true right and left.
Mm-hmm.
Because, all right, let's start off with this. Liberals are not leftists.
Right.
Now, anyone listening that disagrees, you can go fuck yourself, because liberals are not leftists.
Yeah. I mean, that's
first and foremost.
That's political ideologies 101. Liberals are not communists. They're not anarchists. Liberals are, to somebody like me, centrists. You know,
they can be, but even then, because I mean, social democrats are still left of liberals,
right?
Like, they're considered communists compared to liberals,
right? But they're totally, you know, especially modern day liberals. Like a typical liberal is like Obama and Hillary Clinton, and just ideologically speaking, they are almost fascist. You know, they are imperialist warmongers. So they neoliberals for sure. Maybe, you know, not necessarily fascists. They don't necessarily meet the requirements that
they haven't passed the test.
But yeah, liberals are not, you know, Democrats as we know them today are not leftists. So do not let the right fool you into thinking that Joe Biden is a radical leftist coming here to spread communism.
Biden If Joe motherfucking Biden is a leftist, then not even just you and I, the people that are more radical than you and I can't even exist on the political compass.
The tankies.
Dude, the tankies would break the compass. Like, it's wild. So, the way it works is the right is pretty much, it's capitalism. It's any ideology that supports capitalism. The left is any ideology that is anti-capitalism. I mean, generally speaking, that's really how it gets broken up. So something like social democracy is culturally left while being ideologically right, because it's still pro-capitalism, but it promotes a lot more social intervention from the government, and that's where Bernie Sanders comes in. He's not a communist, he's not a socialist, he's a social democrat.
Right.
Which is, still a rightist. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, but there's even leftists who disagree with social democracy because they find that it can be too easy to get trapped in social democracy. Therefore, capitalism won't be abolished. That social democracy will kind of soften the blow almost, preventing capitalism from being completely abolished. And a lot of leftists feel that if capitalism is not entirely abolished, that it'll just rise up again, because capitalists are, if anything, persistent. Incredibly persistent.
There's also the, I guess one of the main critiques from, the real left of, these ideologies like social democracy and democratic socialism is...
that one's left, right?
Yeah, they're both... They're
right... Yeah. They're right next to centrist.
Right. Is the fact that, no matter how much, like Bernie Sanders, for example, or AOC, Cortez from New York, and Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman in Minnesota, the idea is essentially that they are, they support social policies here, but, they might not necessarily be anti-imperialist, so they support, the sort of domestic socialism here at home, but at the same time they might be supporting imperialist wars or things of that nature. So,
and by supporting, it doesn't mean that they necessarily have to go out and be the poster boy or poster girl of imperialism, but just by holding power capable of preventing imperialism and not taking whatever measures necessary to be actively anti-imperialist, essentially they end up just fueling it.
Right. So let's get to capitalism, I guess. So that's, just to be clear, that is basically a brief summary of why liberals are not leftists and communists like the right will make you think. So essentially the message here is, at least from my part, is, and I'm sure Nick's as well, is that, the main goal of the left, or one of the main goals of the left, should be to bring liberals on board.
Don't speak for me. No, I do agree.
That is one of them. Obviously, we want to bring everybody on board, but, there's that element that liberals are there, and, they're not conservatives. They're not, they might be anti-racist, sort of. They might be, on the sort of
they're on that woke train.
Yeah, and they, they're there, but they're not necessarily, they haven't adopted anti-capitalist beliefs. So again, they're Obama lovers, Hillary Clinton lovers, shit like that. So they're not they haven't been radicalized, and that's one of the goals of the left, is to radicalize liberals, right? Bring them to the left.
So the thing is I personally, and this is where Sean and I have found a little disagreement, I want to bring conservatives over. I want to, he wants to bring liberals over, and that's fine. They're pussies. But
fair enough.
I mean, I'm only half kidding. I love saying that liberals are pussies and conservatives are assholes.
It's a pretty fair description.
I mean, to be honest, I think liberals get too bogged down sometimes with a lot of different social aspects and and feelings, pretty much. Just like conservatives get way too bogged down with quote unquote facts and knowledge. And it makes them super easy to manipulate, because all you got to do is put out a fake study supporting their beliefs, and they will not check the source. They'll just accept it and be like, oh no, there's a study. But yeah, no, I want to bring conservatives. I feel like if we can cast a net all the way to conservatives, then we can kind of catch things in between. But the idea for me is to convert conservatives at least into being critical thinkers and anti-capitalists. I mean, personally, I find critical thinking to be more important. I think that as long as people become critically capable, of looking at life, then everything will kind of just, they'll see the truth on their own. But yeah, so capitalism.
Yeah, capitalism. Do you want to give a brief explanation?
Nah, I talked a lot. You too.
Okay. I don't want to.
Actually, I got
this. Me and Nick kind of talked about making this kind of a for dummies version.
Yeah, we gotta. I would like to make it more of a layperson, sort of thing. Because if you start talking about like the exploitation of labor, of the workforce, and like the labor value theory, or like all different Marxist terms in the proletariat, people would be like,
I mean, that's why I threw it over.
Spicy,
I threw it over to you because I think you might.
Capitalism is the over privatization and commodification of pretty much everything. That's the really simplified way of it. Everything can be bought and sold. Right. Everything can be owned, traded, and has some sort of value in the form of some sort of currency. That's the really simplified way.
Right.
The issue with that is some things, a lot of people believe, especially nowadays when we're entering the age of automation, should not be that way. Because things like water and food and somewhere to live and medicine, with our capabilities, should be at a place where it's like, well, why the fuck should we have to
pay for this shit?
Yeah, why can't we just kind of divvy these things up? I mean, we're more than capable of this production. We've shown it. I mean, just look at all of the waste. Look at the cost that it takes to actually make the medicine and ship it around.
Right.
I mean, if you take a lot of the bullshit in between, hidden fees and whatnot away, you really could do it. I mean, you could feed the population of the world so easily with just food that we throw away on a daily basis. Oh my gosh.
Right. I mean, it's a society driven by profit. It's capitalism is that sort of system. It focuses on private ownership, whereas the opposite, communism, is focused on people as a collective owning or having the means of production in the Marxist terms. I couldn't avoid it.
Fuck it, dude! You just start exploding with Marxism. Nah, dude. I mean, all right. So real quick. So the opposite of privatization is publication. Making everything publicly owned instead of privately owned. Now, when people first hear this, they think, well, this is my house. I don't want strangers to just walk in and to just sleep on my bed. And it's like, well, no, that's not how it works.
Right.
You're not going to do that because that's just kind of an asshole move. And the idea is that to attain this level of society, we kind of become more socially aware, and that's where the individualism that we're taught very often in the West, and actually the hyper-individualism gets replaced with collectivism, wherever people start thinking in terms of the community. And you start thinking about your neighbors, almost as extensions of yourself, as a part of this community that you belong to. And you don't want to do things to annoy your neighbors or to piss them off or to just harm them in any negative way. You're not going to walk in your neighbor's house and just sleep in their bed because that's just kind of a weird thing to do, and no one will like you. And it's just not how shit would actually get done.
Right.
So I mean, I just wanted to say that point because I know that coming into leftism, that idea was always really weird for me. I was like, but I own, like, for instance, I have all my video games. I don't want people to just come in and take them. They're my video games. It's
Right.
But
Right. It's important to emphasize when explaining these concepts to people who don't know what they are, because when they hear that, when they hear that communists want to abolish private property, there's a big difference between personal property and private property. I don't give a fuck about your video games.
Right.
I'll take them. No, I'm joking.
I mean, they're mine, but
like I don't care about your own personal belongings. I do care if you have a company where you have 10,000 employees and you're paying them basic minimum wage and they're starving. Then I totally believe that the collective sort of body that would dominate society under communist society should have the right to
take all that extra shit away.
Exactly.
And that part is definitely hard for people to get on board with, especially being taught like you should be able to like keep what you earn. And people are like, well, someone owns a business, they run a business, they work really hard, they built that business. They deserve what they earn from that.
Right.
And it's like, yes and no, because yes, you're right, they deserve what they earn, but they don't deserve what their employees earn, and that's two different things. I mean, their employees are doing a significant amount of the work and getting paid a very small fraction. I mean, it's just it's more of the disparity that exists between the employer and the employee. It's not that a boss or someone up above shouldn't make more. It's that the level. Oh my gosh, I gotta find the picture. Remember the one I sent you? Oh, dude, so it's like the level at which like the difference exists is just ridiculous. The screenshot that I sent you. Oh, dude, we sent each other too many pictures.
Are you talking about like the wealth gap, the pay gap?
Yeah. But it was from that video I was watching.
Oh yeah, that's old. You're gonna have to scroll kind of deep, I think, for that. But yeah, that's basically the sort of gist of it. It's unequal, vast inequality, wealth inequality. And the word focuses and centers on the word earn, like capitalists and these children of rich, violent, money-hungry capitalists like to throw that word around, earn, as if you can't earn $1 billion fucking dollars. That's absurd. You steal $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about in terms of like building a chair, right? You're crafting a chair. I mean, yeah, you can earn $1 billion, but by golly, you're gonna have to make mad fucking chairs. So I found the picture, right? And then it's a screenshot from a video I watched. It says, in Mondragon Corporation, which is the world's largest worker cooperative, the pay ratio between the lowest and highest earner was 1-9. So that means if the lowest paid employee makes $1,000 a month, then the highest paid employee, the owners or the top people make $9,000 a month. 1-9. I mean, when you have a large company, that's pretty reasonable. By comparison, the ratio between CEO pay to average earner in top 350 U.S. companies was 1-321.
Yeah.
That is insane. And that is what we're talking about. It's not, like I said, it's not that people shouldn't make more because they take on more responsibility and delegate and do a lot of work and a lot of stuff behind the scenes. No. I mean, it makes sense, but 1-9 compared to 1-321, that is insane. Yeah. And I haven't fact checked those numbers. I mean, it's
inhumane. I mean, it's inhumane.
Absolutely ridiculous.
It shouldn't be anywhere near that.
Not to mention, I mean, we start to enter a realm. I was watching this video that was talking about like happiness tied to wage earnings, and there's actually an upper limit. Like, there's a certain point where, like, I don't remember how much it is. I think it's around $100,000 a year. That once you pass that, the happiness doesn't go up anymore. You know, between that and the fact that like you really don't need a certain amount. You don't need $1 billion. There's nothing that any person can really say to justify having that amount of money.
Right.
You know, and especially when it's built on the backs of people who can barely feed their family and themselves, and then are told, well, that's your fault. You don't have to work here. You can go find another job making the same amount for the same exact type of people doing very similar shit. You know, it's just, it's stupid.
Yeah, it's a sign of, I mean, the fact that it still exists today. I mean, the fact that capitalism exists today is a sign of how, you know, uncivilized, you know, the country is, the world is, because capitalism is global, in terms of, you know, the elite, and the fact that this system still exists is a problem, and it's destroying the planet. I mean, you can pretty much root everything back to, you know, capitalism, everything wrong with the planet. Well, I would say white supremacy, because I think that you know, capitalism is a product of white supremacy and not the opposite, like most leftists think.
Most leftists agree with you, or most leftists disagree with you?
Most leftists think that white supremacy is a product of capitalism.
Oh, but you
and
think
I
it's
think
the other way around.
I think it's the other way around.
Capitalism is a product of white supremacy.
Right. So that's why there's the term class reductionist. They just bring everything back to class.
Right. As code for racism.
Right.
Yeah. Because now they don't need to talk about black people. They just need to talk about inner city or urban or ghetto or lower class.
Exactly. So yeah, go back to capitalism, because it's impossible really to just grasp this, even through just a For Dummies brief version. I guess
Actually, no, I don't think it's impossible to grasp, because I think a lot of people, I mean, I think, like, just strictly looking at numbers, a lot of people are, like, low wage earners. I think it's pretty easy for them to grasp that, like, that the amount of work that they're putting into their workday does not show at the end of the week or at the end of every other week whenever they get paid. You know, you're working your ass off doing this stuff, and you're getting paid like shit. You know, and it's just, I really don't think it would be impossible to grasp, even from a really simple point of view. I mean, the amount of value that you're putting into the product that you're selling, right? You want to go with McDonald's? Let's go with McDonald's. The amount of value you're putting into these hamburgers is significantly more than the amount of value that literally anyone else is putting into the hamburgers. I mean, you are making the burger and selling it and taking the money. Literally all they are doing is taking the money from the store. I mean, obviously it's a very reductionistic way of looking at it, because there's a lot more steps involved. But at the end of the day, when it comes to generating the value and generating the profit and withdrawing this profit, it's like there's this huge discrepancy almost. You know, it's like you guys are doing all the work, making all the money, but they're somehow taking it, and you have no clue who they are or what they do or where they are or why they're taking the money. You know, all you know is shut up, keep making the hamburgers. That's dumb. That's not how things should work. You know, it's just it all just comes back to, it's just really, really dumb.
Yeah. No, I'm sure people are aware, and obviously the fact that most people, if not all, hate waking up and going to work in the fucking morning, you know?
Yeah, dude, and no one should fucking blame them, you know? My mom has tried to tell me for so long, like, honey, this is just the way things are.
Right. It's been normalized.
Yeah, it's like, no, listen, honey, you're reading into all this nonsense. Just, you should just go to college, get a degree, get a safe career, and just do something that you don't love because it'll pay the bills. And I don't fault her for thinking that way, because she was a single mom raising 4 boys. If she didn't think that way, we wouldn't have had food in our mouths. By all means, I will never fault her for thinking that way, but it doesn't mean I have to think that way. I mean, she went through all of that so that I wouldn't have to, and it's so dumb. Not dumb, it's so frustrating to see that people in society just get brainwashed into thinking career first, money first, instead of thinking, well, what the fuck do you want to do? What do you actually like to do? What do you actually enjoy? What are you passionate about? Because people are under this assumption that if everything that is right now goes away, that people won't want to do anything. People are just going to want to sit at home and jerk off and smoke weed. Yeah, there's going to be some people who do that, but the whole point is that we have to get to a point where we can all push each other to search for fulfillment in doing the things we want to do. There are people who want to build houses. I want to build houses. That sounds fun as fuck. I know plenty of people who enjoy construction, but hate that they do this backbreaking labor and have nothing to show for it. Like, there's people who want to be electricians and plumbers. There's people who want to cook food, and work in restaurants. There's people who want to do so many wild, random things. I mean, my sister-in-law wants to be a funeral director. So it's like, these things aren't going to go out of business. What's going to go out of business is the companies that are pieces of shit and treat the employees like they're not worth a damn.
Right.
Yeah, it's just... It's so fucking frustrating, man.
And this ties to human nature, I guess. In the sense, I mean, we can look at it today, even during the pandemic. We see that we humans have an urge to sort of be productive, regardless of what capitalists say and what we're taught. Like, because if there's no capitalism, then there's no incentive to get up and do something, to get up and work, right? But we see that during the pandemic, where none of us, or well, you're working, but a lot of people have been out of work. They haven't been working.
Dude, we have seen such a spike, especially like people learning shit on YouTube, people cooking, and people making stuff for themselves, and people growing their own food, and people learning all these new skills and languages and taking classes. People have been doing all of this shit because they're like, well, I'm home. I have the time to. People spending time with their fucking families. Biggest one, man. Like, people realizing, I don't want to go back to work. I like working from home. I like to be around my family. It's...
And that's of course not, contrary to what people might think. That doesn't mean I like being unproductive. In fact, it's the opposite. It's finally saying, oh my God, as sad as it is to say, because of the pandemic, I've realized like the opportunities I have to be productive. Yeah, we might have been unproductive for a week or two, maybe even a month, maybe even 2 months. It doesn't matter how long, 3 months, it doesn't matter. But after a point, it's like, I'm tired of sitting at home and just, not doing anything and binge watching Netflix. I'm tired of that. I don't want to do that. I want to get up and do something.
Working out, man.
Yeah, people are working out. People are reading books. People are learning languages. Like you said, so many different things. And this is proof. This is evidence that we humans are inherently productive creatures. We feed off of that. We need to
grow and develop and evolve.
Exactly, and this pandemic has shown that. So whenever you hear a right winger or a pro capitalist say that capitalism is the only incentive for productivity, for innovation, it's bullshit. It's not real. Humans naturally are productive creatures, and we strive for that productiveness. And the pandemic has clearly shown that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just for Christmas Eve, I went over to my aunt's house, and I hugged her, and I was like, holy shit, you've lost weight, haven't you? She's like, yeah, I've been working out. I was like, yeah, dude, I can tell. Like, not just her, my other aunt came over and I said the same thing. I was like, holy fuck, dude. Cooking new recipes, doing all these new things. Like,
right.
Dude, there's so much. There's such a spike. And I think you're right. I think it's people being stuck at home, taking stock in the things that they already have in their life. And it's almost like it slows them down enough to look around and say, what am I working so? What do I need other than what I already have? I have a home. I have some food. I have a family. You know, I'm happy. And it's like we're tricked into, and I think we talked about this, we're tricked into thinking that if we're not striving for more, then somehow we're losers. When at the end of the day, if you really slow down or even stop and look around and think about it, it's like, well, I'm unhappy whenever I want things that I don't need or that I can't get. But I strive to be unhappy and to try to get those things. I want the new car or like a really big house, you know, for no fucking reason. I always want the new clothes and the new stuff and the different stuff, and instead of just looking around and just being like, you know, what I really want is someone to share a life with. What I really want is, you know, a child to pass on my knowledge and experience. And that neither of those, you know, might be for everyone. I mean, some people might just be content, you know, not being in a relationship or not having kids, and that's fine too. But just looking around and saying, what I really want is some sort of development within myself, you know, some sort of evolution, instead of just this bullshit, man. Just this hyper consumeristic bullshit.
Yeah, it's a problem because it's almost ingrained into American values and individualism. Although it's a part of capitalism, it is. That's what it means to be an American. Almost, it's you're individualistic, and we've been robbed of that collective feeling, that collective force is hard to sort of revive, because one, capitalism, but two, that's just what, you know, America's always been. It's always been consumeristic individualism. Me, gimme, more. You know, that's all it is. So it's gonna be you know, a tough fight, obviously, for
that's an understatement. It's literally fighting a losing battle, because it's trying to explain concepts of communism through capitalist lenses.
right.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, whenever I told my girlfriend about it, and she's like, so we'll be broke? I'm like, no, not, I mean, it's just not how it works. It's like, I mean, technically we'll be broke, but it also won't matter.
So we have about 13 minutes until we reach an hour. What do you want to talk about in these last 13 minutes? Do you want to go back to human nature?
I want to actually count down these 13 minutes.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
12:59. 12:58.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I was really hoping that you and I would disagree a little more, to be honest. I feel like this is too soft of a first episode. I feel like you and I disagree so much that this makes it seem like we're just two people jerking each other off. You know, I don't want it to seem that way. I swear, guys. I swear we disagree. It's usually a lot spicier.
Well, this is only the first episode.
Yeah, and we're both jittery.
Yeah.
The beer helped, though.
The water helped for me. Don't drink beer, everybody. Beer is bad.
It's not. It's
yes,
so
it is. This is what we end up arguing about, beer.
Fucking veganism. Oh, for the record, Sean is a vegan and I am not.
But soon will be, my friends. Soon will be.
I'm no. No, I won't. I'm not even. The funny thing is, and we've talked about this before, I'm not even like super against veganism. I'm good. You know, like if a doctor told me like, oh, hey, you have a very serious condition. If you adopt a vegan diet, you know, you'll survive. I'm not going to fight him on it. I'm not going to be like, no, I'll eat steak and die, bitch. Like, I'd be a vegan. It's just, I enjoy steak. That's really all it comes down to. Very simple statement. I enjoy steak. You know, I mean, you can blame whatever system or biases I might have, but by golly, I love cooking and I love food, and steak is so good. I stopped pork. That's a good...
That is good. That's good enough.
Oh, my brother the other day tricked me into eating pork.
So you didn't stop eating pork?
Fuck out of here. As if I haven't completely, like... I've ordered cheese pizza, like, every time. You know how annoying that is? Every topping is pork. So I was at my brother's house, or his apartment. Weird distinction to make. It sounds like such an asshole. I was at his house. No, I was at his shack. So I was at his apartment, and his wife had made spaghetti, and she made red sauce with it, some meat sauce. And we went and we smoked, and then we came back in, and I started eating. And it's only because I was high, because I would have caught it earlier. But I was eating, and I noticed the texture of the meat. I was like, oh, hold on. This is sausage, isn't it? And she's like, yeah, it's sausage and beef. And she's like, oh, fuck, I'm so sorry. I was like, damn, I got. I blame myself for that one, because I should have noticed. I should have caught that way sooner. Like, way sooner. Because I know what sausage tastes and feels like. Like, I have a very, I was going to say renowned, but now it doesn't work.
Renowned?
Refined
esophagus?
No, palate. Yeah. My esophagus is known worldwide for sausage.
Oh my god. Oh man.
Ridiculous. So that's the other part of the podcast. It's just us talking shit. Oh, fuck. Well, I guess now's as good a time as any with absolutely no proper segue. The education system is fucked up. That is my core belief. That is the one thing that I want to go to school for and I want to change. My beliefs are that the current education system is stupid. It is incredibly inefficient. It gives kids a one-size jumpsuit and tells them to put it on, and when the kid doesn't fit in it, they blame the kid instead of the jumpsuit, you know? And it's dumb. You can't push all these individual kids, and I know it seems a little counterproductive to be talking about collectivism and then start referring to people as individuals, but I mean, you know, like, these kids are unique, you know, like, and to push them all through the same system with the same requirements is a ridiculous notion, you know. And then to take the few success stories and you know, these token success stories as if there's some sort of metric to measure the system and its success is also just ludicrous. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, all these kids are different. I mean, what about artistic kids who just aren't very good at math, you know, but they paint beautifully, or they sculpt, or they have some talent, you know, or kids who have just this crazy hunger for history and archaeology and they just suck at English, you know, they're not very good with grammar. But by golly, they can tell you, like, all the major events of the Civil War, and they love looking into these things. You know, it's like, play to kids' strengths, not to their weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And you know, I also believe in a very firm foundation. I think every kid should know basic skills of reading and writing and math. You know, I think that there should be other classes taught as well. You know, like conflict resolution and how to properly handle emotions, you know, how to have proper outlets for them. Like, I think that there's a lot of different avenues that we need to look down instead of what we have now. And what we have now worked for when it came out, you know. The man who came up with it, Horace Mann, actually, you know, he came up with it, I think, around the industrial era, because at the height of industrialization, we were struggling with trying to convert the previous workforce of peasants into these industrialized assembly workers, and we needed a system to do that, and that's where the modern public education system arose from. And it was great for what it was. You know, it was a great transitionary period, but we're now at an age of information where we can evolve past that. And the problem is there's a lot of people who want to hold on to what we have now, and it just doesn't work. It just plain and simple does not work. I've not met a single person, and I've talked to teachers, I've talked to principals, I've talked to various people within the education system, mostly just teachers and principals, but various makes it sound like it's more than just that. And, you know, shit, I should have said students too. Then my list would have been, because you need 3 to have a list. Right. But either way, I've talked to people who've gone through education systems, both on the teacher and student side, and everyone admits that it's fucked up and something needs to change. But no one is willing to actually change it or to do anything. So I want to. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll open my own school and then start leading by example. I'm not exactly sure, but I urge everybody to watch the movie Accepted from 2006 with Justin Long and Jonah Hill and Louis Black. Very good movie. Actually, no, it's a very adequate movie, but it applies to all of this.
Yes.
I forced Sean to watch it like a week ago. God, I love that movie.
It's a good movie.
So yeah, education should be about the love of learning, not about the requirements and the test taking and the profits and the costs and the minimal effort. It shouldn't be about all that bullshit. You know, I also believe that no one should fucking profit off of education. That is so low in my book. It is such a fucking scheme. Education should be free. It makes no fucking sense. Knowledge shouldn't cost a thing. So education should be free. And I'm not saying it unrealistically. I understand schools need power and water and all of that. But they don't need to earn a profit. That's so disgusting to me. And it makes me mad. You take over because I'm mad
now. I guess I'm not as well versed in the literature of education.
And another thing.
But, you know, I'm... Obviously, that whole speech that Nick gave is important, but...
Undermines the whole...
No, what I wanted to say was...
It was important, but
no.
The real problem...
what I sort of think is important, especially is, you know, what the kids learn, and what they should not be taught. You know, for example, history. I guess it doesn't necessarily extend to other subjects. I mean, I guess it does, you know, literature. We sort of have a very Western, Eurocentric, white supremacist, anti-communist, anti-black,
What? Name one thing that's anti-black about our history that we learned in school. One thing, I dare you.
Yeah, the list is endless.
Oh, it's one of those. There's so many examples, you can't pick one. So I guess you're wrong.
But yeah, you know, just shit like that. When it comes to education, what they're taught, mainly historically, we tend to learn history through a very white supremacist, Western-centric lens, and that extends to pretty much all subjects, but more or less history is the major part.
You know what? Because you keep saying white supremacists, I think that would be a good place for us to talk about white people in society. Because I don't think all white people are racist. But I have a feeling that you do.
Well, racist in what sense? You know,
well,
systemic.
I guess the disagreement wouldn't be in the racist part. It would be more in the all part. I just have a problem with saying all anything is anything. Doesn't apply to everything, because I think all I think like all rape is bad. I think we can agree on certain statements.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, all white people being racist, I mean, it's like saying like all white people are the problem. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. Because there are white leftists. There are white people who are willing to fight for causes and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean,
Here, let me at least explain it like this. Sorry to cut you off again, but it's because like whenever I was talking to my girlfriend, I explained this to her. You know, she feels because she's white that a lot of this is like anti her. You know, and I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of people who feel that way. They're like, well, I don't hate black people. Like, I have plenty of black friends. I have plenty of Hispanic friends, and I don't treat them differently. I love them. I would love to do anything to help them. I'd give them the shirt off my back. You know, so it would be very difficult for them to feel like they're racist or like they have any negative intentions towards anybody, even if it's just complacency, which complacency is a very big issue as well. I mean, that's the issue of centrism, but...
Yeah. Well, first, I think that we should have another whole episode on just racism. And we can go more in depth. But
we can get into that. You remember the argument we had about can black people be racist?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah, we can get into racism in another episode. But just to answer your question about whether all white people are racist, it's more about the fact that there's a large body of literature on racism, and I've read a lot of what
was it Ibram X. Kendi?
Yeah, there's a lot of scholars and just students who study race and other identity issues, identity politics and whatnot. But to answer your question, yeah, all white people are racist.
Right.
But
yeah, sorry, it's just that the whole explanation leading up to it, and you give such a simple answer. It's an answer. I mean, yeah, they are, but
yeah, we are because I'm white, so I don't want to make it like I'm not somehow a part of this.
I'm Puerto Rican and Italian. My mom's Italian. I was raised by her, but she's incredibly Puerto Rican by culture. And I don't know. I've come to the conclusion that I don't feel white, but I get told I'm white by other people, which can be very frustrating because white people like get painted in such a negative way that it feels like an insult whenever I get called white. Yeah. And but then white people don't look at me like a white person, so I'm just like stuck in this like awkward spot in between. Right. It's super super fucking frustrating. It's like, well, you don't speak Spanish, so you can't be Spanish. So yeah, but like, that's not fair.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot, I guess. But you can just denounce everything, and just
oh no, I'm not a color.
No, I mean like,
Are you white? Nope. What are you? Nope.
Nope.
Oh, I'm not.
No, but about the question, because we're over an hour now.
So what? Stop being so strict.
I gotta go work out. I got stuff to do.
Maybe I have to work out.
Well, you do you. I gotta work out. Just to answer that question, yeah, they are racist, and it's more about recognizing and just coming to terms with, yes, all white people are racist. That's it. That's how it is. There are those that deny it, and they come up with these examples like you did. I have plenty of black friends. I have plenty of friends from Latin America and whatnot. But it doesn't mean, the point is recognizing that racism is systemic. It's about recognizing that this is not an individual thing. It's recognizing that we white people are living in a system where the word privilege is used to sort of diminish what we really have, which is power, which white supremacists. We live in a white supremacist society, So it's more about coming to terms with the fact that yes, we are racist. What can we do to learn more? What can we do to recognize this? What can we do to, you know, to sort of diminish it and destroy it and show solidarity, and not say, no, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I have this. I have that. I got this. I read this guy. I read that guy. It's more about like, yes, we are. We benefit from racism. We are part of a racist system. So if black people say we're racist, and these black scholars who have written on race and who talked about this shit say that yes, by definition, white people are all racist, that does not mean that all white people are vehemently anti-black and go out. No, that's not what it means. It means simply that, we benefit from a racist system. We have that power. So therefore, we are in a position where if we truly want to engage in anti-racist discourse, we as white people need to adopt, anti-racist policies, not just non-racist policies and mindsets, thinking.
Is exactly what Ibram X. Kennedy talks about.
Yeah,
non-racist and anti-racist are very different, because non-racist is still racist.
Exactly. It's just people who are like, they don't want to mention it. And a lot of Americans, sadly, are like that, and, and they think because, again, it's always that example, and I don't want to put it like on you because you said it, but that's what they say, as I have black friends.
Yeah.
And I used to say that shit too. Like, I have black friends. Like, it doesn't mean anything.
Now you have no friends, so so you're racist. you cut off all your black friends. You said, you know what? I'm racist, man. I'm gonna fall into it full on. No, I think the heart of our disagreement would come with the definition of racism, how we see what racism is. I mean, you could hide behind whatever scholars you want, but at the end of the day, you're wrong. Oh my God. No, but fuck. Yeah, we're starting to get to the end wherever I just start fucking around. I think that we differ in our definitions of racism. I think that we pretty much always have, to be honest, because you feel that that racism is inherently systemic. And then I view racism in more of like a colloquial manner, wherever it's just like prejudice based on race, just thinking that your race is better than others, other races are worse than yours. There's inherent differences based on race, and there's values assigned to certain races. So I think systemic racism is a very specific thing, and I do think it does exist. But I think to label everything as racist and to label all white people as racist makes it seem, because I think most people would share in my definition of racism, because that's how everyone, generally speaking, talks and looks at it, that they would feel that they're being told that they have these prejudices and that they believe that they're better than other people. And I think that's where the heart of the discussion lies, is like, but I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I'm a generally nice person. I take care of people. I try to be good to people and treat everyone fairly. Based on your definition of systemic racism, which you call racism. I mean, really, it comes down to splitting hairs, because if we talk about systemic racism, like, our argument is going to be, well, systemic racism is racism, or systemic racism is systemic racism. But at the end of the day, we're still going to agree, like, systemic racism is a real thing, and it is fucked up. I mean, it's all about, like, implicit biases and different like ripple effects from like very explicit racist laws that have existed until relatively recently. We're gonna agree on all of that, but what it comes down to is it's just like, that's a very good way of turning a lot of people off of these ideologies, is to call them racist, because a lot of these people are probably, I can't say anti-racist.
They're non-racist. I mean, if you get offended by somebody
calling you a racist, and you're like, but I'm not a racist, that's not necessarily anti-racist. I guess that'd be like soft anti-racism, where it's like,
if you get offended by it,
being called a racist.
Yeah, you're that. A true anti-racist is would sit there and shut up and listen to what black people have been saying for years now. Whereas a non-racist would say, you know, I'm not racist. They'd defend themselves, right? They would defend themselves and say, I'm not racist. And they would give examples of why they're not racist, you know.
Well, I mean, if it was like an anti-fascist, I think that they'd be pretty upset about being called a fascist, and they would defend themselves and explain the differences between them and a fascist. In the same way, someone who's anti-racist would explain that they are not racist, and they would probably defend themselves by saying, "No, I'm not racist. I'm actually anti-racist. I'm against all forms of racism, and I believe in equality across the board, and I believe in solidarity between all races."
Yeah. But it's kind of difficult to compare the two, racism and fascism. Racism is...
I think that fascism is literally establishing an ethno-state. It's like racism is the root of fascism.
Yeah, but there hasn't been fascism in the United States for, you know, all this entire time, so...
I mean, technically speaking, if you want to talk about an ethno-state, no. You're right. I'm just talking about, like, I'm just trying to compare it to something wherever if you know, if it's anti, someone would be pretty against it.
No, again, it comes down to, and this is what, you know, people are, you know, a lot of black scholars and activists talk about, is the main thing for white people to understand is that they are racist and they benefit from a racist system. You know, that's it. You know, and that they have an obligation to undo that racism by learning as much as they can and adopting anti-racist beliefs and showing solidarity. And if they don't do that, then they are not an ally. That's literally what it is. It's as simple as that. It's not about your feelings. You know, nobody...
But that is ignoring that people do have feelings, and these individuals have these feelings, and they feel like, why am I being punished and attacked for things that my ancestors have done, for things that other white people have done? Why you know? And that's whenever you get the white people who say that other people are being racist towards them, because they're like, well, I'm being judged by some minority or even majority of white people, but I'm not like them. I'm not them. Why should I be judged by the color of my skin?
Right. No, I get that. But what you're saying is that we have to be careful with how we word things. You know, like we can't go around saying all white people are racist because it might throw some people off, right? It might make people enemies rather than allies.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah. I think that it will make a lot more enemies than allies. Yeah. I don't think, at the core of what you're saying, I understand it, and I can agree to an extent. But yeah, if the idea of this whole podcast and the idea of us talking to people and spreading this is to convince people otherwise, it doesn't help to start off like that and to start off by saying your feelings don't matter. Because nobody likes that their feelings don't matter. Even though to some extent it is true. Yeah. But to just start off with that, you just come off as an asshole, and no one wants to talk to an asshole. No matter what the idea is.
These are not my opinions, though. This is me as a student, as somebody who...
Right, reiterate. Yeah, because everything you're saying is literally, like, if anyone is interested, look up, like, Ibram X. Kendi, and this is literally, like, all of his teachings on anti-racism. He's got a TED Talk about it. He's got a lot of interviews and debates and whatnot on YouTube. And this is literally all of his beliefs. So blame him and be mad at him.
But that's the thing. Like, exactly. I, as a white person, I'm not going to sit here. If black people want to do that, let black people do that. I, as a white person, I'm not going to sit here and not call these people out. And again, I don't care about their feelings if they get offended. You know, if
so these are your opinions. What do you mean? You just said...
Yeah, no, but I am not in the position to say that, you know, not all white people are racist, when I know that all white people are racist and that all white people benefit from a racist system. So then
these are your opinions. Like, this is the confusing part. You're saying that they're not your opinions, but then you're saying, but I do believe all of this.
these are not my opinions that I came up with. This is my...
Oh my god. You didn't... Okay. I thought you meant, like, these aren't your opinions. Like, no, I don't believe this stuff.
No, I do believe these stuff.
Yeah, okay, so these are your opinions. I get it. These aren't things that you created.
Yeah. I, as a student, as a white person, educated in anti-racism ideology and anti-racism practice, have an obligation as a white person, right, to continue spreading anti-racism. And I, as a white person, cannot step into the area of non-racism. So I'm not going to step into the area where I can say to the listeners, hey, if you're white, you're not necessarily racist. I can't do that. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, hey, if you're white, remember, you are racist. That doesn't mean you're going out, with a KKK mask, You can even...
That's the problem, is that's the assumption that gets made.
But I've already explained what it means. So if they don't understand, it just means that they're
dumb.
They're dumb. It's very simple.
Dude, we've had this conversation. If you go around calling people dumb and racist, you're gonna turn off so many people from the get-go.
But I'm not just calling them that. I've provided my explanation. If they don't understand, again, they're dumb.
Yes,
it's very simple.
But this is the problem.
I'm not making...
What you're saying and what they're hearing are two different things, and you're not taking that into account. You're saying that, oh, I've laid it all out. What they do from there is up to them. You're not painting it in a picture or painting it in a certain way to which they can understand, and that they can take away the message that you want them to take away, instead of you putting out the message you want to put out, which are two different things. Like, me hearing what you want me, like the meaning of what you want me to hear is different than you saying what you want to say. And right now it seems like you're stuck on saying what you want to say instead of getting people to understand what you mean.
All the listeners or whoever's listening is not you. You are you.
All right.
Right. Somebody else might think, okay, I get that. I click right away.
But those people, you won't need to do much explaining or painting. And if you do that explaining and painting, those people will understand inherently. Those people are like, no, I get it. I mean, seems a little extra that you're explaining it this way, but I understand I understood it right away. But then the other people...
If there are other people.
There are, I promise you.
But again, I'm not targeting them. Okay. I'm not targeting them. And we're not targeting them with this podcast neither.
We're specifically targeting nobody with this podcast.
Technically,
yes. Technically we're targeting nobody.
Technically,
Also, technically, I'm targeting conservatives and everyone in between, everyone on the right, to make them, at the very least, anti-capitalist.
Right.
So, calling all of them dumb racists is...
Without explanation is wrong. If you go into depths about why conservative ideology is inherently racist, and
which it is, because at the heart of conservatism is conserving like traditional views and values, and traditionally speaking, there's been a shit ton of racism. So what is it you're trying to conserve? Racism. Exactly. I mean, you're trying to conserve all these different ideologies, policies, and practices that have been around since very racist times.
Right.
That it's just like...
So in our next podcast or whatever, and we end up talking about conservatism, and you explain this to them, and you go in depth, and you maybe talk for 20 minutes, and you explain why it's racism, and if you don't understand it at that point, it's very simple. You're dancing around saying... It's very simple.
You're dancing around saying... You're just fucking dumb, dude. You're just a little dumb. It's okay. It's all right that you're a little dumb, but I mean, I'm not saying it's like that dude I showed you who debated Vosh. It was Jesus is Love who debated Vosh, and he was just fucking stupid. That guy. All right, I'm not gonna defend that. That's just dumb. That's just a severe lack of critical awareness and understanding. But I'm talking about the people who can be saved, the people who can be convinced. And I think the biggest part of it, like, comes down to, like, when it, at least in regards to convincing, and this is really starting to get really off topic, but, like, I noticed that with conservatives, they just have, like these, I notice a lot of lefties say this dialogue branch, like wherever it's like they're video game characters and they just have like set dialogues. But whenever it comes to like leftism, or not even leftist, any leftist ideology or any anti-capitalist ideology, it doesn't require you to memorize all this bullshit. It just requires you to open your eyes, think for yourself, and come to your own conclusion. Because that's really all it takes to see through the bullshit illusions all around us. It doesn't take radical conspiracy theories. It doesn't take paranoia and fear-mongering. All it takes is for you to open your eyes, look around, do a little, minor amount of reading. You don't even have to read the Communist Manifesto, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Mutual Aid. Yeah, you don't have to read all of these scholarly texts.
Oh my god, bro. No, but you're right. It's not necessary.
Yeah, literally all it takes is for you to just, having been fucked over one too many times, and to look around and say, dude, this is bullshit.
Right.
That's literally all it takes. I think that's why, like, this ideology, or any of these ideologies, because like I said, I mean, it's not even like you and I share the same ideology. Like, that's why it can all just never really be killed. Because all it takes is for people to open their eyes and look around.
And everybody has different eyes, Everybody has, some see it through a class perspective, like I'm poor, and I'm being, exploited, I'm being mistreated. And then somebody can look at it like I'm a woman, I'm being, mistreated, I'm being harassed, the gender gap.
Which doesn't exist.
Which very well exists.
No, I'm just fucking around on that one. Yo, just mad spicy. Leave it on that. Just, nah, dude, everyone gets treated the same. You're tripping. Alright, guys, see you next week. No, I'm just fucking around for the record.
And yeah, so everybody has different lenses from which they view the world. But, I think, to go back to white supremacy, I think that anti-racism is a huge part of that. I don't think that it's enough to just say, or just to adopt these anti-capitalist beliefs, because we can see very clearly on the left there's a lot of racism on the left. There is a lot of racism on the left. We see that, like, on Twitter, I see people getting fucking canceled every day for shit that they say. Even fucking this dude, the guy, Vosh.
Yeah, what did he say?
He said the N-word.
My God.
He just said it.
Just tweeted?
I don't even know what it was.
He just tweeted the N-word with a period and just fucking, it sat back like, alright guys, this is up to you now.
I don't even
let
know.
The Twitter gods handle this one.
I don't even know, but they tried, like, canceling him, and he's big on the left,
Yeah, he's got like 350,000 subs on YouTube.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who just, who it's again, the term comes down to class reductionist. Everything is about class. They don't give a fuck about minorities. They don't care about how other people are treated. It comes down all to class, and that's why a lot of it's not just Marx, it's other thinkers that we kind of have to study. Not to take away from your point that in order to be radicalized you need to read Marx and Lenin and Fanon and
Kropotkin
and Malcolm X and the Black Panther Party and Mao.
Although, for the record, for anyone listening to this, read the fucking autobiography of Malcolm X. Literally anyone.
Yeah.
If you're black, especially, because dude, that book is fucking amazing. That is a really well written book. Holy shit! Like, it really walks you through like every step of his life, and it's so good. It's so fucking good. So yeah. Anyway, keep going.
I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, we gotta have solidarity on all sides.
Yeah, I think that is a huge issue with the left, is because left is essentially just anti-right. I mean, it's like the Whig Party. Remember, that was created to just be like anti-Andrew Jackson. Yeah. But yeah, like the left is essentially just anti-right, but the left all have different views. I mean, just look at anarchy and anarchists and capitalists. I mean, or not capitalists, communists. Like, they view things in very, very different ways. I mean, anarchists focus a lot more on authority and power and the disparity between those who have and don't. And then communists, in a very similar way, look at that, but through the lens of classes. You know, the working class, the proletariat, and the bourgeoisie. You know, like, even though from the outside looking in, you're like, so they're the same. They both want no government and a utopia that focuses on human improvement, and it's like, yeah, and that's why ultimately it's like, even if you differ, as long as you're anti-capitalist, I think it's a great start. I'm not saying you should stop there.
Right.
And we need to have a whole podcast just about fucking #woke and woke culture and how that fucking pacifies people. Yeah. You know, because in the same way, like with centrism, it just makes people like stop there. They're like, okay, I'm anti-capitalist, cool, I'm done, or just like you, it's like, I'm non-capitalist, so I'm good. And it's like, no, you need to recognize that capitalism can't exist at all. I mean, like, imagine if feudalism still existed. If we just had a little bit of feudalism, you know, it's like, no, you can't. And capitalism runs rampant significantly more. But I do think that we have to come to a close, dude.
Yeah. So, any last thoughts?
This was our first episode. I think for our first episode, it was pretty good. I feel like I'm gonna be really old, and I'm gonna have Alzheimer's, and they're gonna be playing this for me in the home. So if I'm listening to this in the future with Alzheimer's, sucks that you don't remember me and you think that this is like a stranger speaking to you, but I promise this is you. This is me. We're the same. Other than that, I wanted to shout out my girlfriend. I love her. She's great. She lent us this mic for us to use.
Yes, thank you.
We are currently huddled over it in Sean's guest bedroom. We couldn't get the stand to work properly, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just I would very much just like everyone to just go out and just start looking and thinking for yourself and forming your own opinions and asking yourself these questions, like, how do I feel towards these things? Mm-hmm. How do I feel towards racism? You know, do I like it? Do I not like it? You know, what do I think is the logical step from here? How do I feel towards capitalism and wealth disparity? How do I feel towards, you know, American policy, whether it's foreign or domestic? How do I feel towards, you know, all these different things? Ask yourself these questions, and don't be scared to ask yourself these questions and come to conclusions, you know, and to try to come to new conclusions and then compare them to your old conclusions, you know, and even if you arrive back where you started, at least go through that process and always go through it, and don't be scared to just like think about things in a new way and to allow yourself to evolve and develop. So I want to leave it off like that. You?
I'm itching my beard right now.
Good segue.
But no, yeah. Hopefully we just keep on, you know, doing these little episodes. But, you know, if you're listening, read more. If you're already, you know, sort of radicalized, continue to read more. When you have time, read. Change your habits. If you have free time, read. If you don't know what to read, ask around. Look for stuff. Get involved with people in your ideological community. Learn from one another. We're all students, and we're eternal students.
Don't be afraid to disagree, though. Do not be afraid to disagree with people within a similar ideological community. It's okay to disagree, to ask questions, and to even argue sometimes. It's all right.
Yes. So, on that note, it's about to be a 1 hour and 30 minutes of us talking.
You want to wait till the 30 mark exactly? Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I guess we have 20 seconds left. Shit. But thank you, everyone who actually made it an hour and a half in. This is the length of a fucking movie. I think we could have watched it. We could have watched Accepted. So put Accepted on in the background. But this has been Nick and... This is where you say Sean.
Sean. Sean.
And thank you for listening to Radical Rascals.